Now that brings us to the other catch of the IUL. It does offer the peace of mind of the principal protecting 0% floor, but it does also cap the gains on the upside. That means when the market has a huge growth year, your investment will be capped at somewhere in the 12 to 15% range, depending on the carrier and the contract. Don't bail out on me now. Trust me, this is not a big issue. In fact, quite the opposite. We're talking about 6 more seconds of turbulence on your 6-hour smooth plane ride to Hawaii. Here's why. Realize that huge gain years almost always follow what? That's right, huge loss years. 2003, for instance, was great, 26.3% gain in the S&P 500. But it followed 3 consecutive years, 2000, 2001, and 2002, of negative returns, 12.2, 13.4, and 24.1% respectively, negative all 3 years. Let's run those numbers. If you had $1 million in your IRA on January 1st, 2000, it would have fallen to approximately $878,000 at the end of the first year, then continued to fall to just over $760,000 at the end of 2001, and then plummeted to a measly $577,000 at the end of 2002. That same $1 million in a loss-protected IUL would have retained its worth at $1 million at the end of 2000, even though the market was down, remember? Still been worth $1 million at the end of 2001, and guess what? Still worth $1 million after 2002, even though the market got slaughtered. That's 3 consecutive down years and $423,000 in avoided losses. Wow. Then, in 2003, let's say that you were with an IUL carrier that had a 13% cap. Remember the big downside catch? It has a cap. Your $1 million would have grown to $1.13 million. It grew. Meanwhile, the qualified plan portfolio that tanked from $1 million down to just $577,000, remember that one? It would have gotten the full benefit of the 26.3% market gain, not a 13% cap like our IUL contract. Yay! But let me ask you this. Would you rather add 13% to $1 million or 26% to $577,000? 26% added to $577,000 only brings the account up to about $728,000. Again, compared to $1.13 million. This is a no-brainer. At the end of the 4-year cycle, you would have been ahead by over $400,000 with an IUL. This is real money in a worst-case scenario. The only way a qualified plan could possibly do better is if the S&P were to go up unfettered by over 15% per year for 5 or 10 consecutive years with 0 negative years. Do you really think that's going to happen? And even in the 1 in a million chance that it did, get ready to pay the tax man when you retire. I know these numbers can start to be a bit mind-numbing, but they're so critical for you to understand so you can see how to avoid getting crushed financially when you retire. Don't be afraid to rewind the video and watch that last section or the entire video again. I want to continue with the examples just a little bit further. We stopped our examples at the end of 2003. Remember, the IUL account that started with $1 million had weathered the storm and grown to $1.13 million. The IRA account hadn't done so well and had managed to eke back to $728,000, but only after a really strong 2003. Now, let's look at what happened in 2004, 5, 6, and 7. The S&P gained, in this order, 7.2, 1.2, 12.8, and 1.2% in those 4 years. Your IUL account, since it's indexed to the S&P 500, and since all of the gains were between the 0% floor, remember that, and the 13% cap, your IUL would have taken all of those same gains, 7.2, 1.2, 12.8, and 1.2%. That would take your $1.13 million account right to around $1.4 million by the end of 2007. Pretty good, right? Then, when the S&P got shellacked to the tune of 37% loss in 2008, since the lowest return your IUL account can get is 0%, guess what? The IUL account would have held steady at $1.4 million. No loss. Nice, isn't it? On the other hand, the IRA account would have grown from $728,000 to about $900,000 during those 4 good years. Still down by $100,000 since 2000, just in time to get crushed clear back down to $565,000 at the end of 2008. What would you rather have going into 2009? $565,000 or $1.4 million? This isn't a retirement savings vehicle for the ultra-conservative. It's a retirement savings vehicle for the ultra-intelligent. If you think market caps of 12 to 15% are a poor trade-off for a contractual guarantee of a 0% floor, you're just plain crazy. Naturally, past performance isn't an indicator of what will happen in the future, but I think it's safe to say that the market is going to have up years and down years. Protecting yourself from huge losses is one of the primary advantages of the IUL. It's impossible for me to overstate how superior the IUL is compared to your qualified plan. It's not even close. We've already covered the tax advantages. They're clear and evident. The risk avoidance issue is huge, and it favors the IUL by a country mile. But also remember, indexed universal life is also, life insurance. Here's what that means. If you die the day after you fund an IUL policy or any time thereafter, your heirs will receive a death benefit tax-free. The amount of the benefit depends on the size and structure of your policy, but think about your qualified plan and brokerage accounts for just a minute. How much do they pay in death benefits if you were to die early? Oh yeah, none, because they're not insurance. Are you starting to see what I mean by the best retirement vehicle you've never heard of? Hey, that reminds me. Let's talk a little bit more about why you've probably never heard of an IUL before. I already told you that one of the main reasons was that stodgy old insurance companies have horrific communication skills. But there's actually a bigger reason, which is financial advisors almost never talk about IUL. Why is that? Simple math. Only licensed insurance agents can legally sell you an IUL, and most licensed money managers and brokers are not licensed to sell insurance. In other words, the guy who sells you your IRA can't, by law, sell you an indexed universal life policy. And if he can't sell it, he can't make any money on it. End of story. Your financial planner's motivation is to get you signed up for an IRA or 401k and then make money on you for life as your investment grows. They don't care about your future tax burden. Why should they? Seriously, call your investment advisor on the phone right now and ask about an IUL. Chances are 99% he or she has never even heard of it. And if they have zero working knowledge of how or why it works. How would they know? They don't know insurance products. They like to think they have a corner on the market of helping people save enough money to retire, but they don't. They're selling skateboards, bicycles, or roller skates and pretending like the big, shiny private jet doesn't even exist. The fact is, the IUL is the best possible wealth accumulation vehicle for your retirement. For most people and in most situations, it simply cannot be beat for tax advantages, safety, growth potential, liquidity, and flexibility. Alright, just one more quick topic and then we'll let your licensed insurance professional take over and discuss all the fine point details as they relate to your specific situation. And that topic is the logistics of how the IUL works. It works like a life insurance policy in the sense that you make monthly or annual contributions into your account. You will work with your advisor to determine what the optimal amount is for your situation. It'll vary depending on how many years you have left until retirement, your financial goals for retirement, and your current financial ability. The money you contribute to an IUL, like we've discussed at length, will continue to grow tax-free. Unlike a qualified plan account, you may have access to your money at any time you want or need it without a penalty before or after you retire. That's what's called flexibility. When you do pass away, the balance of the account will be passed to your heirs tax-free, just like with any other life insurance policy. The IUL really does offer the absolute best of all possible scenarios. It's tax-friendly, it's safer than safe, and it gives you flexible access to your money. The next step is yours. You simply need to meet with the licensed insurance professional who gave you this video and discuss your particular situation. He or she will answer all of your questions, I'm sure you have several, and discuss all of your options. You may want to consider watching this video again, this time with a pen and paper handy to jot down any notes or questions you may have. Like anything else worthwhile, there are plenty of details to be covered and there's a bit of a learning curve. But whatever you do, don't do nothing. There's too much at stake. Don't fall prey to what I call the law of diminishing intent. You know what I mean. You intend to make the call and learn more, but you get overwhelmed with 1,000 little urgencies of life and you look up and a few months or even a few years have passed and you haven't done anything. So take one action right now. Set an appointment to meet with the insurance professional who gave you this video. You can do so by either calling the number on the screen or by filling out the form at the website shown on the screen right now. That's it. Do that one thing right now. And take a closer look at the jet plane of retirement savings vehicle, Indexed Universal Life. You'll be glad you did.